Ever wondered where the oldest human fossil sites in the world are located? South Africa, a land of astounding natural beauty, is also a treasure trove of archaeological significance. This southernmost country in Africa is home to a wealth of heritage sites that have contributed immensely to our understanding of human evolution. At the heart of this archaeological treasure is the Cradle of Humankind, a World Heritage Site spanning over 200 square miles. This area is dotted with fossil-rich caves that have produced some of the most informative and oldest hominid fossils ever discovered. These fossils, some dating back millions of years, provide us with a unique window into our distant past. They help us piece together the complex puzzle of our origins, offering insights into the processes that shaped us into the humans we are today. These discoveries underscore the importance of South Africa in the narrative of human evolution. They shed light on our common ancestry and shared history. So, the cradle of humanity, it seems, lies in the heart of South Africa. Did you know that for thousands of years, South Africa has been home to diverse groups of people? That's right. The tale of South Africa starts long before the arrival of Europeans. Let's take a step back in time and explore the dawn of civilizations in this fascinating region. Imagine a time when the landscape of South Africa was dotted with small, mobile groups of hunter-gatherers. These were the San people, also known as the Bushmen, with an intimate knowledge of their environment. The San survived and thrived in the harsh terrains of the Kalahari Desert and the Cape coastal areas. Their legacy lives on today in their incredible rock art that tells stories of their spiritual beliefs and daily lives. Then enter the Khoi, pastoralists who roamed the fertile lands with their herds of cattle and sheep. They were known as the first herders in southern Africa, and they developed a complex societal structure based on wealth and status. The Khoi's interactions with the San, and later Bantu-speaking tribes, resulted in a rich cultural exchange that shaped the region. Speaking of Bantu-speaking tribes, these groups migrated from Central Africa around 2,000 years ago, bringing with them advanced ironworking skills and farming techniques. They established themselves in the eastern parts of South Africa, forming several distinct kingdoms. Each of these kingdoms had its own unique culture, language, and traditions, contributing to the cultural mosaic of the region. From the intricate rock art of the San, the pastoral lifestyle of the Khoi, to the ironworking skills of the Bantu-speaking tribes, these early civilizations laid the foundations for South Africa's rich cultural heritage. They developed complex societies, made technological advancements, and left behind a legacy that continues to influence the region today. Thus, the tapestry of South Africa's history is woven with the threads of these early civilizations. These stories remind us that South Africa was and continues to be a melting pot of cultures, a place where diverse peoples have come together to create a unique and vibrant history. But what happened when European settlers set foot on South African soil? It was the year 1652 when Jan van Riebeeck, a Dutchman, landed on South Africa's shores to establish a way station for ships traveling to the east. This marked the inception of the Dutch East India Company's presence in the region. What began as a modest refreshment station soon blossomed into a thriving colony, known as the Cape Colony. The Dutch settlers, or Boers as they came to be known, began to expand their territory, encroaching on indigenous lands. This brought them into conflict with the local populations, such as the Khoi and the San people. The Boers viewed these indigenous peoples as obstacles to their expansion and opportunities for enslavement, marking the beginning of the displacement and marginalization of South Africa's original inhabitants. In 1806, the British seized the Cape Colony from the Dutch during the Napoleonic Wars. The British rule introduced new laws and systems of governance that further entrenched the suppression of indigenous people. The British, unlike the Dutch, did not view the indigenous peoples as mere obstacles, but as subjects to be ruled and civilized. This period saw the start of racial segregation policies. The British sought to control the labor force by implementing laws that restricted the movement and rights of indigenous people. These laws laid the groundwork for the future system of apartheid. The arrival of the Europeans, both Dutch and British, brought profound changes to South Africa. They introduced new political, economic, and social systems that would shape the country's future. However, these changes came at a heavy cost for the indigenous peoples who suffered displacement, exploitation, and marginalization. With the arrival of the Europeans, South Africa's destiny was irrevocably altered. The stage was set for a turbulent history marked by conflict, resistance, and ultimately transformation. Have you ever wondered about the origins of racial segregation in South Africa? This question takes us back to the year 1948, when the National Party came to power and implemented apartheid, a system of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination. Apartheid, a Dutch word meaning apartness, was more than just a policy. It was a way of life that dictated where a person could live, work, and even who they could marry based on their race. Non-white South Africans were forced to live in separate areas from whites and use separate public facilities. They were also denied the right to vote. This oppressive system affected every aspect of life, causing immense suffering and inequality. But in the face of this adversity, resistance was born. Organizations like the African National Congress, or the ANC, led the charge against apartheid. Their peaceful protests and strikes were met with brutal force, turning the world's attention to the injustices happening in South Africa. One figure who emerged from this struggle was Nelson Mandela. His relentless fight for equality and justice, despite being imprisoned for 27 years, inspired millions around the globe. Mandela's commitment to dismantle apartheid and establish a multiracial democracy made him a symbol of resistance and a beacon of hope. Apartheid lasted for more than 4 decades, and over those years, countless people fought against it, enduring hardship, persecution, and even death in their quest for freedom. International pressure, coupled with internal resistance, eventually led to the end of apartheid and the beginning of a new democratic South Africa. Apartheid, a dark chapter in South Africa's history, was a struggle for freedom that resounded around the world. It reminds us of the indomitable human spirit, the power of unity, and the enduring quest for justice and equality. But how did South Africa transition from apartheid to a democratic society? This question has intrigued many, and the answer lies in the depths of courage, resilience, and an undying spirit for change. In the early 90s, a wave of transformation swept over South Africa. The winds of change were blowing, and the apartheid regime, after decades of international pressure and internal resistance, began to crumble. The walls of racial segregation were starting to crack, and the world watched with bated breath. The year was 1990. The date, February 11th, a day etched in the hearts of millions. Nelson Mandela, the beacon of hope and resistance against apartheid, walked out of Victor Verster prison, a free man after 27 long years. His release marked the beginning of the end of apartheid. Mandela, once a symbol of defiance, now embodied the promise of reconciliation and unity. With Mandela's release, the path to democracy was paved, but it was not without its obstacles. The country was fraught with tension, teetering on the brink of a civil war. Yet, through the storm, the goal remained clear: a united South Africa, free from the chains of racial discrimination. In April of 1994, the country held its first multiracial elections. People of all races, colors, and creeds stood in lines that wound for miles, waiting to cast their vote. For the first time in the country's history, every citizen, regardless of their race, had a voice. The election was a resounding victory for the African National Congress, and Nelson Mandela was inaugurated as the first black president of South Africa. The journey to democracy was fraught with challenges. The new government grappled with the task of uniting a deeply divided nation, healing the wounds of the past, and building a democratic society. The road was long and arduous, but the spirit of the South African people remained unbroken. They faced their challenges head-on, with resilience and courage, determined to build a better future for themselves and their children. In 1994, a new South Africa was born, embodying the hopes and dreams of its people. This was not just the birth of a new nation, but a testament to the power of unity, resilience, and the indomitable human spirit. So where does South Africa stand today? This southernmost country in Africa, straddling the South Atlantic and Indian Oceans, is a nation of over 62 million people, each with their own unique story. Today, South Africa is a beacon of economic prominence on the African continent, boasting a diverse and vibrant economy. The nation's rich biodiversity is another feather in its cap, with an array of wildlife and plant species that captivate the world. South Africa's national parks and reserves are a testament to the country's commitment to preserving its natural heritage. Yet, like any nation, South Africa faces its share of challenges. Crime, poverty, and unemployment continue to persist, casting long shadows on the country's progress. These are issues that the nation grapples with daily, striving to improve the lives of its citizens and ensure a brighter future for all. South Africa's archaeological heritage serves as a reminder of its ancient roots, housing some of the oldest human fossil sites in the world, and standing as a symbol of humanity's shared past. The story of South Africa is a story of resilience, diversity, and transformation, and it continues to unfold.